So if you imagine your experience like, like you're listening to a symphony, and there you're at the symphony, and you're hearing all the sounds and all the various instruments in the orchestra playing, and there's this very natural, through the knowledge that we've gained through conceptualizing and language, of identifying what each of the instruments are that we're hearing. So we hear this sound, and then there's this very almost automatic, that's the clarinet, and then we hear another sound, that's the timpani, and we hear another sound, that's the violins, we hear another sound, there's the trombones, and on it goes, right? And this is kind of what we're doing moment to moment, in a sense. There's this sort of implicit or explicit process of describing and defining our experience. So right now, I just invite you to just feel the presence of the array of phenomena that seem to be here experientially. And sure, we have lots of names for these different phenomena. Some we have no names for. And we can just allow all the naming and describing to be there as it is. No need to struggle with it. But just relax into feeling your experience. And just continue to feel your experience. Continue to explore your experience by feeling it, even as all the labeling may be going on. And you could take, I'll just to give you an example, if this sounds abstract about what I'm talking about. So if you take an aspect of the experiential field, one of the instruments in the field, phenomenal instruments that are playing right now, is breathing, right? We have a name for it, just in the same way that you go, oh, there's the oboe, there's the violin, oh, there's breathing. So you could direct your attention to that right now. You could feel what we call breathing. But what's actually there that's being experienced? You're not experiencing breathing. You're experiencing something, but breathing doesn't tell you anything about it. What's there? What's actually there? Not, oxygen moving, into my lungs and being expired as CO2. That's not what I mean. That's an analysis of it, which is fine, but what's actually being felt experientially that we call breathing? Feel that. You can't really conclude what it is, which turns out to be really quite interesting and also liberating. You can't really say what breathing is as an experience. You can't get to the essence of it as if it had an essence. What we're really talking about is entering into the subtle nature of everything, actually. In a sense, from this perspective, all there is subtlety. It's so subtle. What is breathing? It's concretely there. I mean, it's nothing subtle about it. It's the breath. Here it is. It's very concrete. But explore the concreteness of the breath. And it's as if you're instantly catapulted into subtlety beyond subtlety of what's actually there experientially. What is it? It's so fine. It's, in a sense, without clear substance or identifiable substance, and yet something's there. Feel that, like a whole universe. I mean, pick any aspect, any instrument playing in the field, the orchestra of your experience right now, any phenomena, and do the same thing. Explore what's there. Feel what's there. I mean, take this thing that's talked about so much in spiritual teachings, awareness. If I ask you, are you aware? You would probably say yes. There's a feeling of knowing, the knowing of the moment, right? Being conscious, being awake, being aware, right? Well, that's a word to describe what? What is it that's there that we call awareness? Feel that. Knowing, the knowing of this moment. There are no words for any of it, actually. It's a peculiar, you could say, peculiar feature of reality is that there are, all the instruments appear as distinct and they've got their own sound, right? Identifiable, as the oboe is different from the trombone, is different from the cello, is different from the flute, right? No question about it. And that those differences are, the signature sounds that we recognize something in the sound that's distinct from some other sound, let's say, right? In the same way that I can recognize that thought is distinct from sensation, like hearing, right? They're two instruments in the orchestra of my experiential field right now. Thinking and, I don't know, the sensation of touch, my elbows on the table, like touch, very distinct from thinking, right? But when I enter into either one of those sounds, quote unquote, instruments that are playing, the thinking, the sound of thinking, the feeling of thinking is very different than the sound of the birds, being heard, that sense. But if I enter into either one and explore what's actually there, I mean, just do this now. Think a thought of, the thought, I'm on a Zoom call. Okay. That idea. You know it's there, right? I'm on a Zoom call. There it is, the idea. As clear could be as an idea, right? And now, tell me, what is that? What is an idea? How do you know that something's there that you're calling an idea? Like, what is that that's there? What's the idea made of? What is thought made of? You can't really say. You can't get to the bottom of, oh, I know what it is. It's this. You can't pinpoint it. There's what thought is. It's that. It's much more, you just keep looking and never finding. Because whatever you find, then you look at that and there's more and more and more. Subtlety within subtlety within subtlety. None of it holding still either, which makes it that much more challenging to look for it because it keeps slipping away. It's like, what would it be like to not have to come to a final conclusion about what it is? Since it would appear upon investigation that you can't come to a final conclusion. But there seems to be a part of us that either wants to conclude what it is or believes that we have concluded what it is successfully. I know what this is. It's this definition. It's really quite something, though, to feel the way in which this is inconclusive, unthinkable, in the sense of being able to really get to the bottom of it definitionally. I mean, that's extraordinary because we live our lives, and language and conceptualization suggests that, oh, this is what it is, what I say it is, right? This is what I am. This is what you are. This is what the world is. This is what experience is. But meanwhile, our actual felt sense of what's here right now is revealing in every instant that it's beyond definition and description, actually. I mean, what's really interesting is because it can sound like, oh, well, defining is the problem and I must get beyond defining because if I want to discover this infinite nature of reality. But what we call defining, in the same way that I invite you to look at thought and ask what that is, what is interpreting? What is defining as a phenomena? It's also pure indefinable infinity as well, which is why you don't actually have to get rid of it because it's not what you imagine it to be. Defining isn't really defining. Interpreting isn't merely interpreting. There's not a thing there to remove. There's not a thing to get rid of. There's wide open, ungraspable, indefinable I mean, at that point, you're left with poetry, right? Beauty. Something about the indefinability strikes me as awe-inspiring somehow and beautiful beyond imagination and rich and nourishing. And now I'm defining it, um, but the indefinable nature of this, the inconceivable, boundlessly indescribable nature of this is not some bland nothingness, or so it seems. It's rich with qualities, even if you can't find the qualities in the end. And yet it's rich with qualities, seeming qualities, flavors. So this is something, I invite you to play with, to play with exploring your experience in this way. And it's really about not assuming that you know what things are simply because you have words for them. Because that's the power of language is, it's powerful to suggest that we have a grip on what it is, right? If I say I'm happy, like that I've conveyed something about what's there, or I'm sad, I've conveyed something of what's there, or looking at looking at the sky. Oh, that's the sky. Yeah. But what am I experiencing? I'm not experiencing the sky. I'm experiencing experience. And I don't know what that is, even if I call it a sky or sound or color or So again, it's very curious, you look at light. I mean, there's light everywhere, right? The light of this moment, the illumination outside, I can see out the window, just this light and color. And it's very obvious, very concrete, but what is that as an experience? It's the last thing I'll say is that feeling the way in which the moment, this moment, transcends all ideas about it is freedom from all the ideas. It's beyond limit, beyond limitation, beyond definition, beyond inherently transcendental. Even as it's inclusive of all the apparent definitions and limitations and structures and categories, all that stuff. It's all of that is its display, the display of the transcendent. It displays as all these seemingly pin downable, definable, concrete, structured things. And yet when we go to look for it, we discover the unstructured, unpatterned, in a sense, incoherent nature of this. And it's just this beautiful, abstract painting of infinity. This dance of indescribability.